playing Mario Pyromancer against Jonathan Hobbs, number 2 overall seed, playing Jeskai Control. No humans, Affinity, or Hollow One here, folks. You got two pretty pure control decks in the finals. Who says you can't play control anymore? That's what I say. You can still do it, and it can still work. Good sportsmanship by the players. Arthur's will begin. A Blackcleave Cliffs has both players even kept 7. We should have a good one in front of us to crown our champion this weekend.
A lot of removal spells here in Arthur's main deck. Part of the issue that I have with the matchup from his side is I think his game 1's going to be challenging here. The 3 copies of Fatal Push, 4 Lightning Bolts. Not a whole lot to do with those cards.
Well, you got something very particular to do with those cards, my friend. Discarding the Faithless Looting.
Yep, sure.
That's why I think Marshall's got a pretty good chance here, is because Faithless Looting, the fact that it has flashback, you can use it twice. I think his card quality will continue to be high because he's not going to draw. Like, if he draws his bad cards, he has a way to get rid of them, assuming he draws a Faithless Looting.
Yep.
That's why I kind of like the Smarter Pyromancer, mostly because this deck, because of that card. Jun with Jadine, for example, she draws stuff like Abrupt Decay and Pulse and stuff. It's going to be pretty bad.
Yeah.
Marshall, at least he has a way to get rid of him. Hobbs going to Lightning Helix away that young Pyromancer. Well, he's got to search for probably a Sacred Foundry or something. Yeah, so Blood Moon could be a real beaten here.
Yep. This is the window. If Hobbs has not had the opportunity to go get some, draw some basics rather, then he will not be able to function in the face of it.
All right, Blackcleave Cliffs Blood Moon. Not the best Blood Moon in the world because it's shutting off black sources here, but it might be shutting off Hobbs entirely. He's got 2 mountains. There's a basic island. A little tricky.
But one island doesn't unlock a whole lot of his cards. It's cantrips that gets to the big ones.
Mm-hmm. And now their search for his concept. Pass the turn back. Arthur's will draw. Sacred Foundry, Young Pyromancer, pass the turn back. Gonna mill over Supreme Verdict, not interested in that. Search for his concept gonna do a great job of working Hobbs towards his basics now. There's Hallowed Fountain, pass the turn back. Let's go back over to Arthur's. Remember, Blood Moon on the battlefield, new rule changes. Those Hallowed Fountains and Sacred Foundries, they just enter untapped. They're mountains, of course. They're not going to tap for the colors they do the player wants them to, but they don't do anything else.
You can see Arthur's here just say go, not willing to offer up the Young Pyromancer for a Snapcaster Mage.
Mm-hmm. Sulphur Falls, pass. Arthur's wants to get some value out of this Young Pyromancer, which he has not been able to do yet.
Yeah.
Scalding Tarn will get milled over.
Arthur's with only 2 swamps and 1 plains in the deck, so not the easiest for him to get the second color and get that rolling.
Yeah, the thing that Arthur's wants right now more than anything, it's that old Faithless Looting. That's the best draw in his deck at a stage like this. Get rid of some of the garbage, start churning out elemental tokens, and can even flash it back. Logic now to go to the graveyard. Hobbs will draw. Field of Ruin, pass the turn back. Isn't Blood Moon fun?
It's great. It's like
Hobbs, to me, has the advantage in this spot, though.
definitely. I mean, he's with the search for Arcanta. He's under no rush to really do anything. Arthur's isn't. Well, all right, so he's mixing it up. Suggests to me, okay, I assumed that it meant Arthur drew a bolt, but I guess not. It's weird to change course there midstream and then attack.
Surprised by that. I assume there's a method to the madness. Well, he's found a plains. Okay. Another island, too. There's the Bloodstained Mire. Pass the turn back. Basic plains. No Teferi, fortunately, for Arthur's. There's Faithless Looting, finally. He'll draw 2.
Still on a hunt for a swamp, possibly the plains.
2 swamps, 2 mountains, 1 plains. but plenty of mountains, obviously. And discard Lingering Souls. There's the Swamp. Discard spell. Thoughtseize. See what he's working with. Path, Verdict, Island. Take a path. Will Arthur's head over to Hobbs. He'll draw that card, play that island. He's got all 3 islands now along with the basic plains. So he's got everything he needs.
Yep, essentially broken out here. I think he is cut off from Supreme Verdict for whatever that's worth.
That is correct. Inquisition of Kozilek will be cast here by Martial Arthurs. Snapcaster Mage. Into what looks like maybe Logic Knot. Yeah. A lot of tapping here from Hobbs. Okay. You see Marshall taking a look at his graveyard. Might be wondering if he can cast a Bedlam Reveler right now.
Probably no shortage of dead weight in the hand, I would guess.
Mm-hmm. Four mana. He'll count out the instants and sorceries. And they'll play a Bedlam Reveler. Yep, Fatal Push isn't a land. That answers that. 3 cards coming. And a pass the turn back. Let's go back over to Jonathan Hobbs now, who does have a Path to Exile in hand, but might be a little cautious to cast it because it will give Marshall either a Swamp or a Plains.
Yep.
But he'll cast it anyway.
I don't really think he can afford to hold off on it. I mean, the Bedlam Reveler is going to start attacking. The hand's going to get forced regardless.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose he could afford to wait 1 turn on it, but it doesn't change a whole lot unless Arthur's had drawn a Lingering Souls off the Bedlam Reveler or on his draw step next turn.
Searcher's Kanta. Looks like Hobbs will keep that card and attack for 2. We'll go back over to Marshall Arthurs, who will draw. Looks like he'll flashback Faithless Looting. Draw 1 and 2. Couple of lands will go away. Follow up is flashback Lingering Souls. That'll work. 2 spirits on the way. Hard cast Lingering Souls. That'll work too. Pass the turn back. Let's go back over to Hobbs. Gonna mill Steam Bench, draw a card.
Keep in mind that Search for Escanta not mandatory to flip over. You can just keep
Correct.
going like this. And under Blood Moon, there's really no incentive for Hobbs to flip it over. He's getting more selection just getting to scry for 1 every turn than he is from whatever the Escanta would flip into. It would be a mountain.
Yep.
Flips to a mountain.
It would be not good. Discard spell? Yeah. Inquisition. Check out what's going on. Path will take care of a token. Verdict is left over. And if Marshall is aware of the deck list...
That's a big one to know about.
Mm-hmm.
Can my opponent cast their sweeper if I hit them with Blood Moon?
So the way that they do it, the way that Hobbs can do it is Cryptic Commanding away Blood Moon.
Yeah.
Bouncing it, drawing a card, then casting Verdict. That's his way to do this. Here's an attack for 2. Looks like players are going to work on the life totals here a little bit. Make sure they're on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you might see Faithless Looting here in just a moment. Yeah, Hobbs rubbing his hand together. He knows he's in a little bit of trouble here.
But drawing pretty big. You know, if you can draw a Cryptic, get the Blood Moon off the table, untap Supreme Verdict, and find some protection for the Blood Moon on the way back. That's asking a lot, but not inconceivable.
Collective Brutality we discard along with a land. There's a Lightning Bolt U. Put you down to 15th. I think we're about to see a Bedlam Reveler.
Yep.
Yep. It'll just cost 2. 2 and 3 cards coming here. And now there's Lingering Souls, too. Pass the turn back. That's the power here of Faithless Looting. You're watching it. Make sure that the Mardu Pyromancer player always draws good stuff.
I mean, and Hobbs knows where he's at right now, although even the Serum Vision is not ideal here because he only has the 3 islands.
Mm-hmm.
So even if he were to peel his copy of Cryptic Command right there, it still wouldn't be good enough, and he might not get another turn.
Gideon and Logic Knot go to the bottom from the Serum Visions.
Yeah, he's on Cryptic or Bust. I mean, he needs to cast the Supreme Verdict to be able to move along with this game a little bit.
Arthur's going to play another discard spell. Check out what's going on. There's Lightning Helix on a token. That'll work. Supreme Verdict is the card still. Remember the prowess trigger there on the Bedlam Reveler. We're going to make it a 4-power creature. Another Bedlam Reveler. 3 cards coming. This is a Thoughtseize now? Yep, that's probably it.
That's going to be too much.
Yep.
Now you need to Cryptic into Supreme Verdict all in one turn.
Yeah, I don't even. I know that's the first Supreme Verdict that's gone. I don't know if he still has the second one.
He's got, yeah. I mean, there's 2 in the list. I don't know if he's milled over the second copy.
I
at this point.
think that he did already. As there goes Search. I mean, he's got to find Cryptic to even have a shot here. Pass the turn back over to Arthur's. Arthur's will draw. Remember, Arthur's has at least 1 Lingering Souls in the graveyard, in case he wants to go that route to trigger Prowess. He also can do this whole Faithless Looting thing.
Yeah, the Prowess trigger's got this up to a lethal attack, so Hobbs is going to have to have something here to be able to play one more turn.
Arthur's looks like he's going to discard 2 lands. Hobbs is organizing some mana here. There's Cryptic. Just a fake Cryptic. Going to pick up the rest of his cards. Marshall Arthur's going to win game number 1 here over Jonathan Hobbs. Mardu Pyromancer up a game here over Jeskai Control's Blood Moon caused some problems there, along with Faithless Looting and Bedlam Reveler. We'll see what these players are going to bring to the table for game number 2 and 3 as they look at each other's sideboards. But we'll do that after this. Game number 2 about to be underway here between Marshall Arthurs and Jonathan Hobbs, Mardu Pyromancer, and SCGKY Control. Hobbs lost game 1, so we'll start with him as he'll be on the play for game 2. 2 Dispel, 2 Celestial Purge, 2 Vendilion Click. And here come the one-ofs in Rune Halo, Baneslayer Angel, Disdainful Stroke, Detention Sphere, Wear Tear, Engineer Explosives, Elspeth Sun's Champion, Settle the Wreckage, and a Negate.
I like the 2 copies of Celestial Purge, and then some of the tools for just going a little bit bigger. I think the Detention Sphere is very good. I would bring in the Baneslayer Angel and the Elspeth Sun's Champion, too. Just more individually powerful cards that are not easy for Arthurs to answer.
I'm digging the Disdainful Stroke. I also like the Negate as well. Disdainful Stroke actually does a nice job potentially of countering a Bedlam Reveler.
Yep.
Which I think could end up mattering here. The card looked pretty impressive in game number 1. For Arthurs, his sideboard is a lot more streamlined with 3 Ensnaring Bridge, 3 Surgical Extraction, 3 Camball, Council of Allocation, 3 Wear Tear, 2 Liliana the Last Hope, and a Collective Brutality.
So he's got enough mediocre cards in the main deck that he might be able to sideboard in to go pretty deep here. The Collective Brutality and the Lilianas, I think, are pretty easy to bring in here. It wouldn't surprise me if he brought in the Surgical Extractions. Game goes on for a pretty long time. Hobbs is leaning on a lot of singular cards to sculpt the game a particular way. Cryptic Command and Supreme Verdict on top of the list. He plays with Snapcaster Mage, obviously. And with all the creature removal in Arthur's deck, I wouldn't be surprised if he brought in Surgical.
You leave Blood Moon in for Marshall or not?
I think so. I think Colonnade is problematic enough in the long game that alone is already enough, and it is not trivial for Hobbs to assemble his mana in time to get out in front of it. And we saw in that game, he got all of the basic lands in his deck onto the battlefield at some point, and he was still struggling to interact efficiently enough. And he's got the double white cards, like Supreme Verdict, and the Gideon in his deck too. And if Blood Moon resolves, those are just off the table unless he's able to Cryptic it and then redeploy.
Or Purge it.
Or Purge it.
Yeah.
Post-board, Purge changes the calculus a little bit. I think Purge is going to be good regardless, though. I wouldn't sideboard out Blood Moon because Celestial Purge is coming in.
Okay. I think that's the one interesting thing here is how good will Blood Moon be, because it was an all-star in game number 1, whereas now there's the Cryptic aspect of things, as we mentioned, Purge, and, you can still Logic Knot it and negate it, too, so who knows? But it would be hard for me to want to sideboard it out because it was just, I don't want to call it, it was over the course of the game, it made it much too difficult for Hobbs to interact, like you mentioned.
Right. Although, it was constraining on the other side of the table, or on the other side of the tables, too. If he doesn't draw that swamp, it's possible he just gets buried with 7 cards in his hand he can't play. Yep. So he was a little fortunate to find the swamp when he did, because the game was slipping away from him a little bit there leading up to that point. I still think it's worth leaving in, and if Arthurs can be mindful about how he fetches and try to get at least the swamp, I think the plains is a luxury I wouldn't worry too much about. But the swamp certainly should be a high priority for Arthurs to fetch out early on in the game if he can afford to do it, and if the Blood Moons are still in this deck.
Well, we'll be underway here for game number 2 here in just a moment between Arthurs and Hobbs. Do keep in mind, everybody who's watching at home, we're heading to Minneapolis next weekend.
Yeah.
For even more modern action. Myself, Patrick Sullivan, Nick Miller, rest of the SCG Tour crew, going to be heading up. What is there a nickname for that state? What was it, Land of
10,000 Lakes?
Land of 10,000 Lakes, yeah. Home of Ryan Overturf's store, that's for sure.
Yep.
Lodestone Games. So that should be fun. Get to hang out with the Turf and Matthias. Hopefully Matthias will be joining us. He'll be playing some Amulet Titan or something else. Who knows what Matthias plays nowadays in Modern. But we'll be up there watching some Modern action. And then, before you know it, it'll be SCGCon time. That'll be fun, too. Myself, Todd Anderson, Matthias Hunt, Ryan Overturf, the rest of the team. Going to be bringing you vintage, no banless Modern, and crowning Invitational Champion, too. And I'll try to take some photos of the 93-94 tournament for you.
Please do.
How about that?
Please do.
Both these players going to be taking a mulligan here. See if they can find better hands on 6. Curious to see if there will be a adaptation in Minneapolis to these results too.
Yep.
Because you know what these decks lose to? Tron.
They
lose to Tron.
Very little of that in the room. How much was in day 2 of our
like none
of our 150 whatever competitors?
Yeah, like almost
very
none.
very little.
Yeah.
4 copies, I think, or something like that.
Yeah. So I'm curious if maybe people go that direction. But then again, modern results people are somewhat slow to adjust to. People just kind of play what they have. It's not like Standard where they can adjust right away.
But clearly there's adjustments over time. Because
yeah,
the metagame,
over months, yeah.
The metagame here was quite a bit different than, the metagame that we were expecting or the metagame from 6 weeks ago.
Yeah. I think, the dominance of humans had to slow down eventually, right? It's all creatures. It's not that hard.
Right. I mean, it's something where if you are trying to beat the deck, you should be able to.
Yeah. It's a good top deck to have around.
For sure.
It's a very good deck, but it's very beatable. Head over to Martial Arthur's after that Serum Visions. Split the difference on the Scry. Blood Crypt, Inquisition of Kozilek. Let's see what we got here. We got a Teferi, Electrolyze, a Lightning Helix, an Island, and a Mountain. The only thing that Arthur's doesn't know is what the top card of the deck is. We don't know that either.
No white source of mana, but very heavy on basics in this hand.
I'm leaning towards the Electrolyze here if I'm Marshall, even though I don't know the contents of his hand.
Yep, it is castable, and it's the more powerful card of the two.
There's an Island, pass the turn back. Perhaps Hobbs has a Logic Knot. As Arthur's will sacrifice the Marsh Flats. There's a basic Swamp. Collective Brutality. There's Logic Knot. That'll take care of that. Hobbs is trying to figure out which card he wants to exile, and it's going to be Electrolyze.
Yeah, I want to keep the Serum Vision in there if he draws a Snapcaster Mage.
Hobbs will play a Mountain, pass turn back. We're going to head back over to Martial Arthur's here. He's got a lot of discard. Teferi and Helix, that's the hand.
No white mana, and no fourth mana, much less fifth. Still important for Arthurs to get out in front of the table a little bit here before the Planeswalker gets down if Hobbs draws well from this position. But something like Lingering Souls here would just be awesome.
Yep. You see a Sacred Fountain is going to enter the battlefield untapped here. We might see a Faithless Looting now. And we will. So, 1 and 2. He's working himself towards Bedlam Reveler here. A couple of lightning bolts, it looks like, go to the graveyard. Hobbs will pass. Arthurs will sacrifice Marsh Flats.
Now, if he wants to, he can get the basic planes. Not that the Blood Moon is top priority right now with the way that Hobbs' mana looks.
Oh, Blood Moon will get negated. Good top deck there from Jonathan.
Yeah, he's still, even though his battlefield is Island, Mountain, he needs white mana, and if that Blood Moon resolves, he's drawing to very little of it. There's just one plains in the deck, so even when he has nothing but basics in play, Hobbs still has to concern himself with Blood Moon.
There's a Blackleaf Cliffs. Well, there's a Bedlam Reveler.
Nice way to top off the curve.
Yeah, no kidding. Keep in mind, Arthur's does play 4 copies of Bedlam Reveler in his list, where most people play 3. Pass the turn back over to Hobbs. That's a white source of mana.
Three cards in hand. Arthur's knows about 2 of them.
He'll play Faithless Looting, trigger Prowess.
You are right. These lootings are really padding the downside risk of a lot of these cards.
Yeah.
Is Bolt good or bad in the matchup? And the answer is it depends on what's going on. This game is looking like it's going to go on for a long time. Hobbs really isn't on his Planeswalkers yet. You got to get rid of them. Here, 2 extra lands.
Yeah, looting in this deck is different than any other deck.
Right. It's multidimensional. It's not just about the one thing.
Yeah. This is why the article that Ben Friedman wrote about Faithless Looting being essentially brainstorm in Modern. That's a pretty hyperbolic thing to say, but at the same time, I mean, look what it's done this game and the last one.
Yeah, it's doing a lot of smoothing. And it's just such a nice thing to have left over post Bedlam Reveler 2, because the 3 cards you draw plus your draw step, there's going to be a discard spell you don't want, or something extra.
Mm-hmm. There's a Lightning Helix there. That's just to gain some life, it looks like. I imagine Lightning Helix is going upstairs, not the Bedlam River. Yeah, but all right, multiple Teferis. Draw a card. 5th land.
5th land would be all right. I mean, it would have been really nice for Arthurs to follow up with one more threat card on the previous turn because of exactly the scenario.
Mm-hmm.
You would want to be able to trivialize the Teferi and be able to just kill it. No. We'll see if Arthurs can follow up with something here. You don't want him to grinding these cards, that's for sure.
Young Pyro.
All right, that counts. That counts as an answer. And hey, you know what's down? You know what's down in the deck now.
I think there's a Bedlam Reveler coming.
There's a Bedlam Reveler waiting.
Oh, that Kolaghan's command was that's like when we drew Confident.
Ooh. But the other way.
Yeah. You wanted to be one way.
It's that other way.
It's that other way. Whew. That was one of the best Kolaghan commands I've ever seen. My goodness.
And Hobbs can't cast Supreme Verdict still.
Yeah.
I guess he can Field of Ruin himself. I'm sorry. No, he can't get a bait. He's only got he's got a duel. He can set himself up for Supreme Verdict.
Mm-hmm. Field of Ruin is going to go. That's a good Field of Ruin, actually, because that's going to shuffle away the Bedlam Reveler. That's a good Field of Ruin.
And allows Hobbs potentially a top deck to Supreme Verdict to get the game to neutral, minus the Faithless Looting that's in Arthur's graveyard.
All right, I think time to draw 2 now off of Faithless Looting. Yep. Discarding 2. Surgical Extraction among them. You had a feeling he'd bring those in.
Yeah, he's got enough. The Faithless Looting protects you a little bit from it being bad, and there's enough spots where it's awesome.
Hollowed Fountain tap. Pass the turn back. Let's go back over to Arthurs, who's looking across the finish line to win this tournament. He's been in first place for most of it, folks. Not a lot of people playing Mario Pyromancer here this weekend, and he'll play a Thoughtseize, make a token. No hand. Maybe just to get that out of the hand. Not sure why. Maybe just make a token and then Bedlam Reveler.
Yeah.
See?
If he's going to cast Bedlam Reveler, it's fine. It gets Hobbs down to
Kolaghan's command in the draw step. Yep. And that is going to do it. Marshall Arthurs is going to win this match and tournament. 2-0. Mario Pyromancer right on top, and for the Northeast Ohio native,